Hello everyone, this is Defense Politics Asia, and this is the Frontline Changes report. And there's a lot of frontline changes over the past 24, 48 hours, a lot, like ridiculous. And you can see by the overall area captured, there's some crazy news coming from the Velikan Novosibirsk sector. So let's start off from the in the anti-clockwise direction. Then I would say that maybe that would be more interesting for you. So over at the Velikan Novosibirsk sector, massive collapse of the entire front line has been reported this time round. We have um, this is based on the Russian claims. The Russian forces have basically advanced greatly. So let me pull out the arrow. So Russian forces have advanced towards in the northern flank of Rozdone, heading towards it, and they have also reached the outskirts of Velika Novosibirsk, securing Shatarsky, and securing Zolotan Neva, securing Novodonetsky, pushing west of Uruzhaine. And this is the latest estimate of the entire frontline change. Is a combination of Russian claims and also confirmed captures, as per reported by the Ukrainian side. So the total distance. So if you look at the total distance from Velika Novosibirsk to the previous Russian claim is 5.8 kilometers. If you go all the way to the extent of the Ukrainian claim, it's actually 9 kilometers from claim to claim. So this area here is disclaimed by the Ukrainian side. They have not acknowledged this crazy advance by the Russian forces towards Velika Novosibirsk. And this advance would also means that the entire area here would collapse because they will be at risk of encirclement. Something like a situation with New York, in the New York front, like a few months ago. So, and the Russians also claimed they have expanded control around the Vodonetsky region. And this area here is actually confirmed by the Ukrainian mapping. They confirmed that the Russian forces have advanced in this area, but not at the extent where the Russians continue to push up towards the Velika Novosibirsk sector, to Velika Novosibirsk. So the distance along the highway from end to end towards the Zolotan Neva is 6 kilometers. So we're talking about massive expanse. Is a total collapse of the front line. There is no other way to describe. I'm running out of vocabularies to explain what is collapse, but it's collapse. No, it's just falls. No, the entire thing just broke open, and we might see the battle of Velika Novosibirsk very soon if this is confirmed. And part of it is actually confirmed because of this geolocation by Creamy Caprice. This is the latest geolocation that confirmed that the Russians have indeed advanced in this area. In fact, I should map this separately. Give me a second. So I have put in the two polygons based on the latest geolocations because this is a Russian claim. So this is now confirmed capture, linking up with the previous the Ukrainian mappings concession. So this is entire area, and that also means that a part of the Ukrainian claims at Shatarsky is now invalidated, and this confirms that Shatarsky is now fully secured as well. So this is the current crazy situation that is developing over at Velika Novosibirsk, and the entire area is 75 square kilometers being captured. I should actually hide this so that we do not. I'm not sure if I actually blocked some of these views, but yeah. So this is the current crazy situation over at Velika Novosibirsk. Hopefully we'll have more confirmation through geolocation corroboration of these claims, and then we're going to see some very exciting maneuvers over in this area here. So over in the Uspenivka sector, this area here has also collapsed. If you look at the area here captured, is also pretty huge, 29 square kilometers. Not as big, not as crazy as the Velika Novosibirsk one, but it's still pretty crazy. So the Ukrainian mapping confirmed that the Russians have expanded control around the direction of Uspenivka. However, Russian mapping have claimed that they have controlled most of Trudove and expanded control in the direction of Vesely High. And in the Ilinka, north of Ilinka, geolocation of Russian forces confirmed that the Russians have advanced south, and north of Antonivka has been claimed. Sorry. The Ukrainian mapping have showed that the Russian forces have captured Antonivka. the northern part of Antonievka, and this with the geolocation confirmed that the Russian forces have basically closed part of this salient around Ilinka, and Ilinka itself has become their own salient, and this means that the Ukrainian forces will have to redraw or they will be encircled at Ilinka. Russian mapping also claimed this entire area, this entire straight line, which also means that this is an estimate because it's so straight, that the Russian forces have advanced south in the area of Dalny, and around Dalny there is confirmation from mapping and geolocation that the Russian forces have captured Dalny, and they are moving in the direction of Hanivka and Uspenivka. So this entire salient is just in a big mess. Uspenivka is about to be pinceled. The entire area here is a massive salient that is awaiting to be encircled as well. So this sector is actually worse than the Veliko Novosilka sector's situation. This is actually worse because a whole chain of fortified settlements are now all in danger of encirclement and envelopment. I don't think the Ukrainian forces is going to be able to hold this. I'm expecting a massive withdrawal from the Uspenivka salient and give up the entire area here. It's just not possible to hold this position. So that's the current situation. The front line change over in the Veliko Novosilka, at the Uspenivka sector of the Donetsk front. And we move further up north to the Kurakove sector. At the Kurakove sector, the main front line change is around in the southeast of Kurakove, with Russian forces continue to advance over towards Kurakove from the southeast. This is mapped by the Ukrainian mapping as they confirm that the Russian forces continue to progress steadily towards Kurakove, where the Ukrainians are currently holding position. Russian forces have already a foothold on the eastern part of Kurakove, and the Ukrainian forces is probably just praying for the best. But given the entire strategic situation that is developing all around this region, this is yet another place that the Ukrainians would have to redraw, because while there is this massive salient that is developing, massive encirclement, there is a bigger encirclement that is now developing, and an even bigger one that is probably developing on the outside. So we are looking at some very severe strategic change. I think the Russian front line is going to straighten in this way. Definitely, that's why I say Constantinople is going to be a prime target for the Russians as the Russians continue to make progress, as they continue to start to pincer from Ruzdony and do all these things. So Constantinople can just needed to be taken from the south, and that would effectively develop that operational encirclement. They don't even have to come from the north. So it is not necessary to come from the north, because coming from the south, taking Constantinople, and then there's a Vozhcha River here. This is operational encirclement already. They don't have to take Andriivka. So, and with Sonsivka going towards Staritany and with Constantinople, this is already the operational encirclement. So that will be the massive salient around here, becoming an encirclement. So this is the frontline change that matters in this area here. So tentatively, the Russians are still busy trying to encircle Veliko Novosilka, so they are busy around here. But once they start to push towards Constantinople, shit is going to hit the fan double time. So maybe the ship will go into the aircon, and then you're going to have some massive headache. So the next frontline change from this Kurakove sector is over at the Selidove region. Based on Russian mapping, they have claimed that they have straightened the front line around the north of Selidove. This is based on this is based on Ukrainian mapping. Actually, sorry, it's wrong. So this is confirmed capture. These are captures, and at Pustinka as well, the Russian forces have also taken some more tree lines around Pustinka, confirming that they have closed down on Pustinka. So this area here, the progress is much slower than the fighting at the Kurakove sector, Uspenivka sector, Veliko Novosilka sector, because the front line here is still pretty intact, and it is pretty much supported with two massive cities in the north, which is Pokrovsk and Minokhrad. So there is two major cities protecting to support this operation, the defensive operation around here. So which is why the defense line here is pretty much more stable. But this area here is just messed up. It's just totally broken right now. So that's what it is. The next frontline change after Selidove is going to be at Krasnaya. So this is basically I already mentioned this in the situation report as well. Ukrainian forces geolocated at this very position, confirming Ukrainian capture of this area here. This is a to and fro. This is like a ping pong match. They keep taking and losing this position at this MKK region, Mykolaiv, Krasnaya, Krytia region. So this is the frontline change over in this sector of the Pokrovsk front. The next frontline change is over at Toretsk. Over at the New York front at Toretsk, the Ukrainian mapping have confirmed that the Russians have advanced a little bit around in Toretsk. So this is the slight frontline change over in the Toretsk. The front line looks really vague. Because the way how the Ukrainians have drawn this, they drawn a straight line just like this, which is technically impossible, which means that this is just a vague drawing of where the Russians have firm control. There's a high chance that the Russian control is actually much more bigger, maybe something like this. This is probably where the line actually is, but they refuse to to just give it to the Russians so easily. So let's wait and see for if we have more information. The next front line chain, we jump to the Crimea front. So over at the Crimea front at Terny, the slow crawl continued with the Russians now geolocated in a new location in the north of Terny, with the Russian advance again. This time around, the advance is around another 500-600 meters. So it's very similar to previous advances, very slow but steady. And the causeway, the crossing is about to be taken at this rate. The crossing from the geolocation point is around 1 kilometers, just over 1 kilometers. So this is the frontline change at Terny. And after Terny, the next frontline change is over at Petrotrevneve. So just now we were here, and now we're going to the near the Sviatove region. This is based on Russian mapping. They have drawn a very straight line, claiming that the Russians have control around this sector. So this is not acknowledged by the Ukrainian mapping just yet. So this front line makes sense for the Russians to actually have control over. So there's nothing surprising to me in this area. And after this is over at the Pischane front. At the Pischane front, there is a major shuffling of the front line because the Russian mapping have they have disclaimed that this area here to be under Ukrainian control. In fact, it's actually a bit more, but the mapping is a bit unclear. So I just basically invalidated, or rather disclaimed the Russian claim in this area here, aligning it with the Ukrainian mapping. So, and however, they did claim that they have secured the eastern flank of the Koloneskivka. So it's not all bad per se, but it's just that there is this changing of the hands of the territory. So that's the situation right here. But this also means that the Ukrainians have a much more better defensive position at Klushkivka than previously understood. So that's the current situation at the Pischane front. So after the Pischane front, the next front line change, we jump to the Kursk front. At Krymyanoe. At Krymyanoe, this is yet another massive collapse. The entire front line here, because the Ukrainians were holding up at the forest, and of course all these different forest regions, all these areas has fallen to the Russians. The Russian, according to the Ukrainian mapping, Russian forces have advanced greatly around Krymyanoe and capturing all of these areas here. So all of this has been taken by the Russians. Now the Ukrainians would have to defend through these the other forests around here. There's no such thing as forests. I know. You English Nazis. No, it's forest. I don't sure in forest can have an S, but no, yeah, forest. So no, forests sounds nice. So yeah, so that's all. This is a frontline change. At the biggest extent, the frontline change is around 6 kilometers. From Krymyanoe, the frontline change is around 2.3 kilometers. So that's the distance traveled. The total front line is around 7 kilometers wide, and that's the front line change in this sector. Total area in this area, front line change exchange is 21.82 kilometers, and this is including the Russian change of front line in this area, where the Ukrainians disclaim the part of a little bit of the Pokrovsk front. sorry, no, the Porovsky region in this area, and Ukrainians do claim a bit of more control around Darino. So this is the frontline change around Darino. So all accounted for is still 20 over kilometers. So this is the full frontline changes report, and let's do some calculation of the total areas. So if you look at the total area, you can see that the biggest Russian capture in this in the past 24 to 36 hours is actually over at the Velika Novosilka. This is a massive collapse. Massive collapse. The entire front line from top to bottom is 20 kilometers. This is how long the front line is, and the Russians are advancing across the entire 20 kilometers. So this is not a small battle. This is major offensive with the Russian forces attacking in multiple vectors. And all in all is to drive the Ukrainians out of Velika Novosilka. And the flanking movement is definitely going to put a lot of pressure for the Ukrainians to just go across the Makriali River and defend and go over onto the western side. So this is the area. The total mapping, the total area change is 75.78 square kilometers. Massive amount of grounds. The second biggest is the Uspenivka sector, where the Russian jaws are now closing on Uspenivka. So this is also a massive collapse of the front line. And the third biggest is actually at the Kursk front due to the collapse of the Kremyanoe salient around here. This alone contributes most of the changes. See, this piece is 10.8 kilometers. This piece is 10.5 kilometers. So because this is pretty zoom out, so if you zoom in, if you try to identify a size, the size of the building, you can see that this is actually a massive amount of grounds. The farmlands are huge in this sector. So let's do some calculation. So bring in the calculator. So let's count the Ukrainian first, because Ukrainian is shorter. 2.85 plus 9.1 plus 1.02. That's 12.97 square kilometers of capture by the Ukrainians, or at least advanced. 12.97. So let's count the Russian ones. The Russian ones is 21.82 plus 2.02 plus 5.95 plus 0.36 plus 0.14 plus 1.439 plus 2.65 plus 29.24 plus 75.78. Total is 139.39 or 139.4. So let's do 139.4. 139.4. That's 139 square kilometers. I think this is the biggest we have ever calculated since I started calculating this daily or 2 daily area of capture. So this is massive. Over 100 square kilometers has been captured by the Russian forces. So in conclusion, Ukraine is winning. Thank you for watching. Press the like button, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next update.